organizing in the digital age. Political organizing is probably our best weapon against what's coming in the Trump administration. As important as the fights in the courts are, the fights in the legislatures and ultimately the fights at elections are going to be what rolls back the things we don't want to happen. And so the first message is you should be organizing, like we're doing tonight. But you should be doing it carefully and intelligently. And I want to talk about how to do that in the era of mass surveillance. On this day, Martin Luther King Day, we can remember what J. Edgar Hoover was able to do to activists in the 60s and the 50s. We now have an administration with much, much, much more power to surveil and to find out what is going on in the lives of activists than they had 60 years ago. So we also have very powerful tools for organizing, right? We have Facebook. We have social media. We can get together 1,000 people on message in a day. But that is happening in a very public, a very insecure, very open place. Law enforcement agencies are known to monitor organizing that happens on Facebook, monitor conversations that are happening in social media. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't be using social media to organize, but it does mean you should be smart about what you say and when you take conversations somewhere else. So I want you to think about there being a spectrum of communication for organizing. At one end of the spectrum is the most open, public, easy to get people to hear the message places. That's Facebook. That's email chains. That's anything that if I, as a law enforcement agent, want to learn what you're doing, I don't even need a warrant to find out. On the other end of that spectrum is conversations that are secure and are encrypted, and even if law enforcement had a warrant, they wouldn't be able to find out. And you should think about which conversations should occur in which space. And so, obviously, the basic organizing conversations can happen in groups like this, can happen on Facebook, can happen, you don't care who's watching. If you're organizing a group to get people together to decide what an issue is going to be for the next election, or you're organizing the time for a dinner, right? Totally appropriate to have that conversation somewhere insecure. But let's say a teacher in a school district near you contacts you and wants to know what to do about a student who is undocumented, or they believe is undocumented, and they're getting some flack from an administrator or someone from the federal government, and they want your help, they want to know what to do. Should you have that conversation on Facebook? Right? Absolutely not. Right? You shouldn't have that conversation on email. You should have that conversation somewhere that is secure. Right? That means in person, or it means using secure messaging. If you have a smartphone, you can download an app on your phone that will have end-to-end encryption of any conversation you have with someone. We recommend an app called Signal. WhatsApp is another app that will do this. Even your default, if you have an Apple iPhone, your default communication with other owners of iPhones is end-to-end encrypted. That means that you can have a conversation relatively secure in the comfort that no one can see what's happening in that conversation or mine it for information. And so if you're writing that down, Signal, WhatsApp, and even the default texting that happens from phone to phone on your iPhone when it's blue instead of green, the blue one is encrypted end-to-end. So just think about, in the conversations that you have over the next year, over the next 4 years, think about where you're having different kinds of conversations. And think about moving your conversations, your sensitive conversations, to safer places. Second, tracking. Suppose, again, that teacher who asked you what to do about that undocumented student, or that pastor who wants to know about how they can help this family who's under an order of removal. You're not going to have that conversation on Facebook. Good. Are you going to do a Google search about what you should do? No. You really shouldn't do that. Your searches on Google are easily obtainable from anybody who wants to get them. Okay? There are safe ways to do that search. A search engine called DuckDuckGo. Great search engine for not being tracked what you search for. The point here is less to give you the technical details. The point here is to make sure everyone in this room is mindful of the fact that your digital activities are very easily monitored and will be monitored. And you should be careful about thinking about what you put out there and how you put it out there and what tools you use. We're going to be doing a series of seminars on digital security and self-defense. We'll have lots more details about the sorts of things I was just talking about. So we encourage you to follow our Facebook page for details about when that's going to happen. I'll give 2 more concrete points of advice and then I'll move on to the next category. One is, have unique passwords for your accounts. Please, please, please have unique passwords. You can do that if you have a very good memory by remembering 40 different passwords. Or if you're a mortal person, like me, download a password manager. It's a piece of software that will generate passwords and remember them for you and enter them for you on your computer. Come talk to me afterwards if you want to know more information about doing that. It is one of the simplest and easiest things you can do to secure yourself in a way that John Podesta was not secure.